This meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv and will replay on Saturday, December 3rd at noon on Metro Cable 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the podium and hand it to the clerk. And with that, Karen, can you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Walter?
Here.
Bryant?
Here.
Detrick?
Here.
Polo?
Here.
Gonzalez?
Here.
Hernandez?
Here.
Morin?
Here.
Natoli? Schmidt? Nava?
Here.
Turner?
Here.
And Skoglund.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Great. Commissioner Turner, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And at this time, I would like to introduce our new board alternate, Matthew Bryant, who is here serving as an alternate to Councilmember Larry Carr. So welcome.
Thank you
It's
very
nice to have you here. And with that, Karen, can you call the first item, please?
First item is conference with legal counsel on 2 existing litigation matters and 2 anticipated litigation matters.
All right. Shall we break and go into back room here? Great. The board will now adjourn to a closed session. Convene the regular meeting after our closed session. Legal counsel, do we have anything we need to report out of closed session? Great, thank you. So then, Karen, please call the next item.
Item number 2 is the review of franchise and PEG fees remitted by Consolidated Communications Incorporated for the period January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2014.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Davison, your Executive Director. This item is related to an audit that was performed by the Commission's auditor, Osbal and Skolko. The results of the audit were a relatively clean audit identifying essentially $7,413 that was owed to the Commission. The Consolidated does not dispute, and in fact, they've already given us a check for this amount. So with that, I just am recommending that you receive and file this audit.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Then we will receive and file the item. Karen, please call the next.
Item number 3 is the review of franchise and PEG fees remitted by Comcast Communications for the same period, January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2014.
Good afternoon again. This is another audit that was prepared by the Commission's auditor, Osbal and Skolko. This one, though, did have some significant findings. The total amount of the findings is $789,451. I'm not going to go into all the details, but the audit report, which is in your packets, includes all those amounts. Some of the significant items, certain items were excluded from gross revenues that the auditor, and the auditor did not receive an adequate explanation why they were excluded. Certain fees related to multiple services, such as late fees, were not properly included. So bundled services had late fees, and the auditor disputes the way that Comcast reported the gross revenues related to fees such as late fees. Mm-hmm. And then another large item was franchise fees on the PEG fees, and you'll probably remember that that was an audit item from the previous audit as well. So with that, we're recommending that you receive and file the audit. After that, we will contact Comcast, basically asking them to pay the disputed amount.
Okay. Then
Bob, I believe we need a motion to direct staff to issue an invoice to Comcast.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second? Second. All right. And that's a motion to direct staff to issue an invoice to Comcast for the unpaid fees identified over the period that was received. Yep. All right. With that,
please vote.
Please vote.
Motion passes 9-0. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next item, please.
And this is related to an upcoming audit for AT&T. Every time we audit AT&T, they require us to get a subpoena. So rather than wait till we knock on their door, have them tell us we need a subpoena, we are proactively asking your board to authorize us to get a subpoena so that we can do that audit. So with that, I'd request that you adopt the resolution authorizing the subpoena for the AT&T audit.
Staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second. Please vote.
Please. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. Next item, please.
Item number 5 is resolution number 2016-020, reauthorizing a fee to support the PEG facilities in the amount of 1% of gross revenues on all state cable television franchisees.
So as your board is aware, after DIVCA, the commission decided to implement a PEG fee. We actually went back to all the member agencies. All the member agencies adopted actions authorizing the commission to authorize PEG fees under DIVCA, and thereafter, in about 2009, the 1% PEG fee was implemented and has been collected since. All of the cable providers, video providers in our area, AT&T, Consolidated, and Comcast, they're all paying the 1% PEG fee, and all of them within the next few years are up for renewal of their state franchise. With that, DIVCA requires that we basically reapprove the PEG fee. So if we don't take an action like this when they renew their franchises, then the PEG fee would not apply to them. So it's recommended the board adopt the resolution reauthorizing the fee to support the PEG channels in the amount of 1% of gross revenues on cable television state franchises, holding state franchises within the jurisdiction of the commission.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second.
All right. Please vote.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next item, please, Karen.
Item number 6 is resolution number 2016-001, approving the parental leave policy.
Okay, and at the last board meeting, I'm sure you remember that staff was directed to bring back a parental leave policy, somewhat consistent with the County of Sacramento's parental leave policy. Since then, we reviewed the county's policy, some other policies, and worked with commission counsel to develop the commission a parental leave policy for the commission. Some of the specifics of the policy is that it's for the birth of a child, a domestic partner of a child of a domestic partner, or the adoption of a child. It would allow for 4 weeks of bonding time, and it's for employees with at least 1 year of continuous service with the commission. Eligible employees would include all full-time employees or part-time employees that are over 1,000 hours, which triggers benefits and other aspects. If we had part-time employees that met that criteria, of which we don't at this time. The leave must be used within 4 months. It can be taken on a full-time basis, or with management approval could be taken intermittently through that 4-month period. This is separate and distinct from sick leave or disability for pregnancy, of which your commission recently approved a pregnancy disability policy. And also parental leave, even though the commission now does allow integration of leave balances with SDI, parental leave is meant to be bonding time and is meant to be done during the time outside of disability, and so parental leave doesn't get integrated with the SDI. Also want to point out that there is state paid family leave, which is separate and actually doesn't necessarily, the commission is not required to grant state paid family leave. So this policy addresses that and basically states that it's not required for staff to approve state paid family leave. However, management has the right and the discretion to approve that as well. And with that, that's in a nutshell the policy, and I'm recommending that the board adopt the resolution adopting the parental leave policy.
If there's no further staff or further deliberation, I move staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
All right. Any questions?
vote.
Please vote.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 7 is General Administration Report from our Executive Director.
And I have a few items. The first item I have is, and I'm going to defer it to Gary Martin's here, and he'll give a report during the channel licensees report. It has to do with Access Sacramento's high-definition truck, which the commission recently funded, and they had a little bit of trouble with that truck related to the rain, and I think Gary's going to give you a full report on that. Item number 2 is the Telecom Advocacy Coalition. I believe your board is aware that I have some signature authority for certain contracts that are less than $50,000, and especially contracts that deal with legislative issues. So with that, I'm planning on authorizing an MOU with that's related to lobbying efforts related to certain telecom items that may be coming forward. And there's been many recent examples where the local California jurisdictions did not fare very well with certain industry proposed legislation, such as DIVCA, which your board knows was approved in 2006. I believe there was a bill last year related to internet communication through the rights of way that may, while not approved, it's expected that that bill may be introduced. This would provide, and the amount is, they're requesting is $1,000 a month for 12 months, so basically $12,000 to provide funding for a coalition, work through Commissions Council, Best and Krieger. It would basically pay for a lobbying effort. One of the aims is that it would help local jurisdictions get ahead of some of this type of legislation rather than waiting till it's introduced, being in the reactive position and sometimes being almost a done deal. Harriet, I don't know if you want to add anything on top of that, if you have any better specifics.
I think that was really the point. We've had, many of our public agency clients have talked about sort of trying to provide some more contact and education to our, trying to provide some more early contacts on telecommunications issues, including cellular issues, right-of-way issues, cable franchising issues, gross receipts issues, a lot of those kinds of issues to the legislature, so that when they, when people come in and start to address those issues, they have background to be able to talk about it, and that there's better communication between the public agencies, the industry, and the legislature on a lot of these issues. And some of the other issues involve utility user tax issues with respect to many of the cable operators starting to migrate to internet services for what historically has been cable and the like. And so it was felt by a group of public agencies, including Los Angeles and others, that we would be best off having someone who specializes in that area start educating our and talking to our legislatures. And so that's basically what this is about, to try to avoid some of the issues that have happened over the last 3 or 4 years, where we don't know about a bill until it's already in print, and and then we're trying to convince everybody why it doesn't work for us, as opposed to proactively suggesting things that might be helpful for everyone involved.
And this is not an action item, but I'm informing the board that I'm intending to enter into the MOU. And under the requirements, I think if I do that, I'm supposed to report it to the chair and then report it to the board at the next meeting. But since we're having this meeting, I haven't entered into that MOU yet, I thought it would be a good idea to let your board know about it. With that, I only had one other item. I believe this is Chair Walter's last meeting.
Possibly.
Possibly.
It's up in the air right now.
Okay. Well, then I won't. I was going to thank you.
Let's assume it may be.
Yeah. Anyway, that would be great if it wasn't. But I do want to thank you for being chair for the past several years. You've been really great to work with, and staff much appreciates you and how you've worked with staff and the commission.
Great. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve in this capacity and many other capacities in the county. So, all right. I think that's time to call the next item then.
Item number 8 is reports from state franchisees, and I don't believe there are any present in the
I
audience.
have no request to speak.
Okay.
So,
And the next item is reports from our channel licensees.
Yes.
Gary?
And first up, I have Liz.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Rhodes with the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. Wanted to report on just a couple of things. One, we're moving ahead with our SIVA Labs for the next round of funding. We've got quite a few people on board representing several districts, so we're excited about that. We're still working on BestNet. And the big thing I wanted to share with you today is a lot of people say, keep asking, like, so what is BestNet and what does it do? And we want to go out and see it. Well, it's not something that you go out and see in terms of pipes and flashing lights and that stuff. But I have something that'll show you what BestNet does. And there was a project that just kind of came before us that was very exciting. And it had to do with the Rwanda genocide of 1994. There was an American who stayed, was the only white person who stayed. And our students in Elk Grove had a chance to video conference with him. And this is just a short clip of the video conference. Before you run that, though, there is one line in there that I wanted to read verbatim that was just absolutely, I think, speaks about the power of what this can do. It says, through this video conference, Carl Wilkins, who's the gentleman who stayed in Rwanda, will share not only the genocide, but here's the important thing, but also Rwanda's commitment to forgiveness, reconciliation, and moving forward as one nation, one people. Really gave our students a lot to think about, so why don't you take a look.
So today was a really important day with 2 of my geography classes here at Valley High School.
We Skyped with Carl Wilkins, and he told us a little bit about his experiences when he was staying in Rwanda.
We moved to Rwanda to build schools and to operate clinics. And we were there for 4 years before this horrible thing called genocide came along.
And so all of them got an opportunity to Skype with Carl Wilkins, who was the last American in Rwanda during the genocide, and to hear the power of story and hear the power of his story and the stories that he was bringing back from Rwanda.
What made you do it? Like, what made you stay?
This young lady never asked me to stay, but she loved our kids, and my wife and I were convinced that if we left, she was going to be killed.
How can you talk about something so violent and brutal that humanity has done?
You hear about it in the classroom and you can kind of sit back and analyze. When we were in the middle of it, some of it just didn't even seem real. These guys are laying right in the middle of a prison labor camp. And here's 88 men who confessed to killing their neighbors.
I feel like he went through a lot, but I feel like he also did a lot too.
It's the stories and what individuals went through that is what students will remember.
I already, knew about the subject, but it wasn't really, with me. It didn't stick with me. But today, talking to, Carl Wilkins and learning, his story, and then, as he said, you wrap it in a story, it'll stay with you.
I think that the sharing of stories and being able to hear Carl Wilkins' story is incredibly powerful for the students now and also for them in the future. Thank you so much, all of us.
Let's just all clap for each other.
All right, excellent.
An absolutely incredible, powerful day. So that's the beauty of BestNet. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. And next up, Gary Martin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gary Martin from Access Sacramento. And as Bob previewed, we had a little bit of a problem with our high-definition truck. And I'm going to tell you that story after I show you a video of what that truck can do. So let's look at about 2.5 minutes of the high-definition signals that you made all possible through some PEG fees. We'll go ahead and roll the tape, the digital file.
This time they give to Norris, a fake to Norris, and in for the TD, Schaefer. Nice misdirection there, and Schaefer scores from 6 yards out. Touchdown Eagles at the 8:33 early on. Caught! Touchdown Lancers! A catch in traffic. Wow! On the play, it's time room. Rupchuk. Zigzag, stop and go to the goal line. Touchdown Bulldogs from 32 yards out. To the beats we are making, to the words we are singing. Makes no sense to me. Pain and loss, one is suffering. Couch and tell some song. Gas prices.
Welcome everyone to Live Wire. I'm Bonnie Antonini, filling in for Ray Tatter for the next 2 weeks. Now you might notice that the set here at Live Wire looks a little different. And that's because with this beautiful spring day, we decided to take a road trip and go all the way out to the courtyard of Access Sacramento.
To all the 10 filmmakers, and congratulations to all of you who are willing to volunteer and help out, because that's what it takes.
Some of you have acted in front of the cameras. You know, it's really, really technical. But what I teach is a lot of little tricks, like, do you know where you're supposed to look in a close-up?
And so Access Sacramento produces those programs itself. Unlike the community member programs that come from religious groups, from community people who use our studios, use our cameras and edit and create those programs, these are actually paid for and created in part by money that you provide under the Hometown TV and Game of the Week grant. And we thank you very much for that support. We also thank you, of course, for the money that came for the creation of the HD truck that was purchased and created last year. And now the unfortunate and distressing part of this conversation. About halfway through football season, as we arrived to the wonderful rain that everyone appreciates, our truck apparently did not appreciate the rain. There was a roof leak, in this new vehicle, and the monitors, the switcher, the instant replay device, and a variety of intercom systems got wet. And so that was tragic, but I can tell you that the people who created the truck are standing absolutely beside the idea that we deserve a perfect truck. And so the truck was taken back down to LA, where they discovered that the roof, which was built in 4 panels, had a seam leak. We were distressed when we originally got the truck because it was all chrome on top, and it was and there's a camera platform up there, and so there was going to be a lot of reflected light and heat for someone who would be standing on top of the truck. So we asked them to put in a textured surface that would not be quite as reflective, protect our people, be a better circumstance. The surface that they put up there apparently dissolved the seals that they had put in, and as a consequence, we had a roof leak. But they are standing by all of that work. They have completely taken the top of the vehicle apart, restructured it, resealed it, made it right. The countertops, which were wood countertops, have all been replaced, and every piece of equipment that was wet in any way is being replaced entirely with brand new equipment. So, although we're losing 6 weeks of production time with that, the truck will come back to us a week from Monday on December the 12th as a brand new truck, again, in perfect working order. They are not even claiming it as an insurance claim, so we have no deductible. They are absolutely making it right, and we appreciate that piece. But while tragic, we do get a brand new warranty on all of the equipment that comes in, so a new extension on faculty warranty, on equipment warranties, and that's good. But it was tragic, honestly, to see the pictures of the water on the equipment. But be that as it may, it will come back to us, and all of your interests and our interests are being met, and we thank them for that. A couple of other brief updates. We've completed a variety of security improvements. A cage where our vehicle is stored has now been completely enclosed in a steel fence, and security has been put in there so that should there ever be any motion that we detect inside that's unexpected, we're going to be able to get the police out there right away. We've put in high-resolution security cameras across our spaces and upgraded our alarm systems, so everything has been upgraded according to plan. We have a new IT network that is being put in that is under PEG money as well. That's exciting because it means that essentially we move entirely to a tapeless environment. People who record things in our TV studio or using our cameras can process that through to the digital media lab where it can be edited, and then from there it can be processed directly into our automation system. And that pass-through of the network is all being installed right now. A couple brief other updates. We have submitted our annual report as required by our contract with the Cable Commission to Bob in that office, and if you want a copy of that, I'm sure he can forward it to you, or I can forward it to you as well. Our 17th annual Place Called Sacramento was wonderful at the Crest Theater. 10 brand new original films all about Sacramento, 800 people in the hall, and an exciting day for filmmaking in Sacramento, and we're proud for 17 years to have made that possible. Thanks to Sarah Polo and Eric Guerra's office for supporting the film festival in part and moving all of that forward. And if you have other questions, I'd be happy to address those, but otherwise that completes my report.
I did have one question from Commissioner Skoglund.
I did want to thank you. Last time we met, it was early September. You passed out the football schedule for Friday nights, and I did watch a couple of those games because I'm kind of limping now still. But I went to the Cordova game and saw the truck and stayed for a little bit and then went home and watched the rest of the game at home. But watching these games, your commentators, the play-by-play, the color person, never agreed with the referee's calls at all. It was hilarious. The whole season, the refs blew it apparently. So, but thank you for the schedule. That was great.
Our pleasure. And yes, when it came to my students, when I taught at Cosumnes River College, when it came to officials, all they were allowed as students to say was, some in the audience may have disagreed with that, but they were right on top of it. Our Access Sacramento announcers have been around for about 20 years, and Coach Jim Domino is a CIF Hall of Fame guy, and he tells it like it is.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
All right,
Thank
I
you,
don't have any other requests for questions. So, Gary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And that's all I have for speakers on item 9. So, Karen, can you call the next item?
Agenda number 7 is number 8 is to receive public comments.
And I have no request to speak. So with that, we will be adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.